So let's talk about sibilance. Yeah, that sound you get, or a lot of it. We'll listen to a new Stylus or a new cart that's not possibly aligned correctly. You know, I did the 52 millimeters overhang for the Techniques. Got it aligned all nice and straight and level with the 2-point protractor that I have on my LP size from Hudson. Now, it's worked before on other ones, but for some reason with this Pickering 1200E, I took it off yesterday, readjusted it. It was still sitting at 52 millimeters, and I had to tweak it in just a little bit to make it, this part here, level with the lines on the bottom with the protractor. And I got it back on, and then I adjusted the tracking force from 1.25 to 1.3. Sounded better, but I put on this Van Halen fair warning, and it's just sibilance from beginning to end. I don't know if it's the LP or what, but I'm going to go back and I'm going to adjust this to what I used to use. It's a 1-point, but you're aligning a straight line from here, from your spindle up to the center of the bearing here on top of the tone arm, and it's a 1-point. And I know it's going to extend this out past the 52 millimeters, but I need to see what's going to work for this cart on the Techniques. So I'll show this, what I'm talking about, on the workbench to my left. So we'll be right back. Alright, this is the alignment mat protractor. The backside is a anti-skate blank, so you can adjust your anti-skate. But this is the single point, and as you can read the directions, I tape down a rubber band, and you line up this line with an arrow to the center of the tone arm bearing here, the vertical one, and then you align your stylus with this single point here. This is the way I used to do it. Everything sounded fine, but watching a lot of videos, and they say, Techniques has a recommended overhang of 52 millimeters, and been using this, but it just, there's a lot of sibilance, and it's sort of driving me nuts trying to listen to it. So, and when you sit there and double check an alignment that's perfectly level and smooth and everything, the tracking force is even upped it a little bit, it improved it, but it's still a lot of sibilance. So I'm going to set this and go from there. Well, this is where it currently sits with this setup. I haven't adjusted it out, but I did measure it, and it puts it out. This will move it out this way another 3 millimeters, making it 55. So let's go with this and see what happens. Alright, I got it. Took me a little bit, but I finally got it all lined up. So right at the center, I know it's a little dark there, but I got it all lined up. On the thick line there, the thick line there is all centered and straight. So, and I'll use my little mini bubble level to check to make sure the head shell is level once I get it mounted, put back over. And then I'll play another album, see how it tests, then I'll come back and see if it fixed it or not. But that's 55 millimeters, not the standard 52 for a Technics turntable. Hopefully this fixes it, because the Sibilance is just ridiculous. Alright, I rechecked the tracking force, set it to 1.3 grams. Got the anti-skate set to 2. I used the blank side of the protractor disc I have for setting the anti-skates. I got it pretty much float somewhere in about the middle, and it went in really slow here, then it went out very slow here, but it's very steady here. And as you can see, level there. Just wanted to make sure it was, level. So now I'm going to put a Van Halen diver down on and see if I get any more Sibilance. I'll be back. And one last thing I do check for to make sure the tone arm is level. About as good as it's going to get, so we're in like Flynn, as they say. So I'll be back. Okay, I had to put some new screws and some regular nuts on there, and had to realign it, and got it set back up to the crosshairs in the circle there. And then I had to, thankfully I've got a adjustable head shell, and I finally got it. I had to look at not just the head shell, but the Stylus body itself, the black part that goes into the cartridge part. I had to make sure that it was level, because I was seeing, as you're looking at it here, this right side here was lower than the other side, so I meticulously went back and forth and got it adjusted where now it's even across. So, and it's also aligned up with the grid here as far as the front. So I was still getting some Sibilance when I played the first track really bad, just like I heard it before. So hopefully, well, I'll be back if after I get the results here. And the tracking force, according to this, being the top line, the XV-15/1200E, supposed to be 3/4 of a gram. You can go up a half or minus 1/4 of a gram. So anywhere from a half up to 1 1/4. So I'm going to set it down to about, I'm going to test it at 1 and go down to 3/4. I'm going to have to figure out what the best tracking force is for this within that range, because I'm not using the brush, because when I tried using the brush when I first got it, I was getting some really bad feedback with the brush on, so I took it off. So I may have to take it off my XV-15625E and recalibrate that whenever I play it on here, because it also is at a lighter and it has a brush on, so I may have to take it off. It may just be because my phono preamp is very sensitive and picks up much better than anything I've had in the past, so it could also be contributing to it. So we will reset the tracking force. I'm going to put it at 1 and then see where we go as far as the sibilance. I'll be back with some results. Okay, sibilance is just as bad as it was, no matter where it was adjusted. So, but I've always heard that this album, some of the early Van Halen pressings had some bad sibilance, and this is known to be one of them. So I'm going to try a different album that I know is not quite so bright on the mastering, because it's a more recent pressing. It's a Crimson Glory Transcendent. Whatever. Okay, I'll get it straight here in a second. Transcendence. I know I'm still not saying it right. Anyway, let me switch out albums and see what kind of sound I get. I'm just tracking at 1 gram right now. Transcendence. That's the title. So, anyway, I'm going to give it a test. Okay, I just played the first track. No sibilance. A little tinny. I think I need to apply a little bit more tracking force to bring out the bass a little bit better. But it's definitely what I had read before. That somebody commented on one of my needle drops from that album. The album, the way it was mastered or pressed or whatever, I don't think the way it was mastered, it's probably something to do with the pressing. I'm not 100% sure, but it has a lot of sibilance in it. I just played this, there's no sibilance at all. It is sounding pretty much perfect. I'm going to tweak the tracking force a little bit, and then I'll be back with what I find is to be the best sound. Okay, from 1 gram to 1.1 sounded better, and I think 1.15 is the sweet spot. The basses have come in much better, but I don't want to make it too heavy, so I'm going to leave this set at 1.15 grams. So there's a list of my other cartridges I have. So the distinctive thing about this Stylus, I got this from LP Gear. It's an aftermarket for the Pickering. It's what they call their Vivid Line stylus tip. It's the same cut as like a fine line or a micro line from other stylus manufacturers. You have to align these more accurately, or it's not going to read the grooves very well. That's why you have to be very particular about your tracking force, your anti-skate, your azimuth. One thing I did check was the rake angle, but the tone arm is level, so we should be hopefully within a half a degree or so what it's supposed to be. I have to get out my USB microscope to do that, but I'm not going to do that at this point. So I'm happy right now with the way it sounds, and after this album I will only have about 6 hours before I reach 40 hours for the full break-in of the new Stylus, and then after that I'll do a needle drop with it so I can get everybody's thoughts on the Pickering. Anyway, I really enjoy vintage styluses. Sometimes they're hard to come by, and the aftermarket styluses, or vintage cartridges that is, and putting aftermarket styluses on them can really bring these things back to life, because they have really great sound. Because this cartridge has 35 dBs of channel separation, so you're going to get a very wide sound and very clear and detailed, so that's why I really love them. So anyway, I'm going to wrap up this video on this Sibilance issue, so I think it's just the albums, because this one here sounds perfect, no sibilance at all. So lesson learned. I do know one of my other cards, like my Nagioka MP150, sounds okay on those Van Halen albums. Just when I get a finer aligned Stylus tip, they just doesn't agree with it very well. So I'm going to finish off this album and call it a night. So on to the next, and long live vinyl. But I've decided to go back to 52mm overhang since I've determined that the Sibilance issue was related to the pressing issues of those early Van Halen albums from back in the 80s. And the last album I played, and I played some more albums today. I played, been going through my Kiss collection trying to get the 40 hours on this new Stylus. So I'm going to take it back to 52 and then play Paul Stanley's solo album from back then, and then I'm going to do the same 1.15 grams tracking force, and make sure the anti-skate's fine, and then we'll be back afterwards with the results if it sounds any better or worse or whatever. So just thought I would just add on to this, and I'm going to go back to the recommended 52mm overhang. So here we go. I'll be back. Alright, I'm back, and the verdict is 52 milligrams, oh boy, 52 millimeters. I don't really hear much difference, but I will leave it at 52, and my others up here that are at the wrong overhang will get changed later on when I get to them. Only thing is, I have a Pioneer they do 49, so, but it's only for my PL400. I usually, for my PL7, it has a different head shell that I can only change with itself, so I have two carts set up for it. But anyway, 52 milligrams, here I go again, 52 millimeters overhang is the sweet spot. Got the tracking force set back to, I think it's like about 1.6, and I put the tracking force at the 1.15 grams, so we're good to go. So now I'll call a wrap on this video, and long live vinyl with some classic vinyl from the 70s.